Hi, good morning, everybody. A warm welcome to the webinar on the diamond gradings by IGI, and the presenter would be Mr. Ramit Kapur, who is a general manager in IGI India. Over to you, Ramit.
Thank you, Swapnil. And thank you to GemAtlas to bringing everyone on the same platform at one time. All right, a very good morning to everybody. We've done this presentation earlier a few months back. However, we do it again because we have a lot more attendees who would like to know more about what's happening in the diamond world, in diamond grading, what's the current scenario, how do we take this challenge up with our expertise, with our experience, and yeah, it's not a very easy situation that we are in when it comes to trading as well as grading of diamonds. But there are a few things we'll discuss in the presentation which will make it more transparent how labs grade diamond, how does IGI grade diamonds, which will make you a little rest assured about how you should make your purchases more effective, right? So those who've joined in, welcome once again, and those who are coming in will join us soon. All right, moving on. The question today that comes to our mind when we see a diamond is, like you see right up on your screen, you see a diamond, right? All these years we were looking at it, and yes, we know it's a diamond. And when the term diamond came to our mind, it was very simple. This is a natural stone. However, in today's time, it becomes very important that we know whether this stone is a natural diamond or it is lab grown or man-made, cultured, synthetic is the most common term that you hear about, right? So that makes the first step and the most primary step that in a lab is, firstly, when a stone comes in for certification, we have to know whether this is a diamond that we're looking at, and is it a natural, lab grown, or simply is it just an imitation which looks like a diamond. So all these years we had terms like moissanite, cubic zirconia, American diamond. All these look like diamonds. They are stones that imitate a diamond, but they have no physical, chemical, and optical properties as a natural counterpart. However, when we talk about synthetic diamonds or man-made diamonds or lab-grown diamonds, well, they do have the same physical, chemical, and optical properties as a natural diamond, which qualifies them to be called as a diamond. However, there are some other properties, chemical composition, like they have presence of silicon, as well as the growth structure, which is different, which makes it easier for labs to distinguish between a natural and a diamond which is grown in a lab, which is known as a lab-grown diamond, right? So the primary step for IGI or labs across the world is when they describe or they issue a report, it becomes mandatory that they specify or they disclose that the stone is a natural or a lab grown. So the first thing that you would see on an IGI report in description would be a natural diamond, you know. So when you see a natural diamond, you can be rest assured that's the stone that that you've been looking at, and yes, it has gone through various tests in a lab to qualify as a natural material. When we talk about lab-grown diamonds, now there are two ways that these can be grown. I'm sure everyone must have heard these terms like high pressure, high temperature, HPHT diamonds. Mostly you get large stones out of HPHT rough, as well as you get various colors. Mostly dark yellow colors are seen in HPHT, high pressure, high temperature grown diamonds. Likewise, now there's another way of making diamonds, and this is getting more popular, growing diamonds in a lab, and that is called CVD, chemical vapor deposition. So using methane gas, they break the carbon into plasma, and using a diamond substrate at the bottom, they actually put layer on layer on layer, making a tablet-like stone, which is actually a diamond which is grown in the lab. So this is CVD. They are more tabular, they are more flatter. You don't get very large stones, but yeah, above a carat also. Mostly stones would fall below a carat size, right? So when a stone comes into our lab, like I mentioned earlier, the first step primarily for us is to determine that this is a lab grown or is it a natural. Today, high-end equipment is required to determine this, to distinguish between both, uh, because just a microscope or a fluorescence lamp or primary knowledge about diamonds in today's world does not you know qualify us to just look at the stone and say this is a natural stone. So let me go through the different equipment that we use, and based on that we can determine that this is natural or synthetic. Right. So the first equipment that you see here quickly is a diamond shore. Just that name says diamond shore. You place the stone on it, uh, and it's getting ready. It analyzes the stone for a few seconds, probably 6 to 8 seconds, and if you see a message that says pass on the screen right here, this stone is a natural diamond, as well as there are no treatments. It can go for further grading like clarity, color, or the finish grade. However, there are stones which would say refer for further tests or type 2, right? Now these kind of stones, the moment they say, like you see, refer for further tests, like a stone mounted in jewelry, but we placed it on the diamond shore, it says refer. So the moment it says refer, we take it for further analysis to determine whether this is natural or synthetic, right? Um, why did I mention type 2, right? Now, this is something that we need to know, that all CVD, chemical vapor deposition grown diamonds, belong to type 2A category. So that's a type of diamond. Like type 2A means diamonds which do not have nitrogen in them, and type 1 are diamonds which contain nitrogen. So that's how they divided the family of diamonds into two types, 1 and 2. So yes, all CVD diamonds are type 2A. So the moment on the diamond show we see type 2A mentioned, we take it for further tests. Now doesn't mean every type 2A stone is a chemical vapor deposition or a CVD stone. It could be a natural diamond also, right? Actually, it's nice to know that diamonds coming from the Golconda mines, the old diamonds that we hear about, the popular stones, all of them, not all of them, a lot of them belong to the type 2A family. So, which also mostly you would see are the colorless stones. Now, when we talk about CVD, what are the colors that we are really seeing? There was a time early in the lab which we saw stones which are ranging from G to I, or from F to I. These were the colors that we saw in CVD diamonds. At the same time, we only saw VVS, VS, right? So that was the quality that was really being seen. Lately, a couple of months back, since I would say about 6 months, we see more and more VS, SI, and rarely but a few I quality diamonds also. And colors would go down to even K, KL, but rarely L, but up to K. So you see it's no more restricted to VVS VS, but even in lower colors and lower clarities you find CVD. So it becomes very important when you're sourcing diamonds that you know where you're getting these diamonds from. Is it from the right source? Now, talking also about the sizes, what you need to watch out for are sizes which are 30 points plus. That's mostly where we see more and more CVD coming in. Um, 20 points rarely. Below 20 points, almost like negligible. Not really. Very rarely have we seen stones which are 15 or 18 points. But mostly 20 points, 30 points and above is something which is more and more common to see in CVD. So what do? You have a parcel, you need to make maybe a single line bracelet or a necklace or probably a bangle, single line stones or stones in a single line setting. So you source diamonds from the market or from the trade. It becomes difficult to really know now these stones which are non-certified because of the size are smaller, 20 points, 25 points. Probably they are non-certified. Are they natural diamonds? They could be CVD. So what you do, a simple way is, we have at all our locations in India, at all our labs in India, we have simple equipment which is kept. You can take a cut of the parcel. You just send a cut of the parcel to our lab, and we'll quickly tell you whether the stones are passing under the diamond shore. If they say pass, okay. If they say refer, we can tell you that so much percentage of stones are refer. If they're below about 3-4%, they're below, they're still okay to go ahead with the parcel. But if you send me a parcel, probably like 20 stones out of 100 stones, and those 20 stones I have about 4 to 5 stones showing refer for further tests, well, it's an alert that will give you that there are more stones with refer, so you can take a decision whether you want to go ahead with the parcel or not. Now, this is a quick analysis or a screening that we call that we can do for you. It's not, we cannot tell you at that moment or that same day on such a large parcel, be 20, 25 stones, that which stones are natural or synthetic. Probably take about 2 days. But however, at least at that time, if stones have passed, you can go ahead with your deal. If they do not pass, if it shows more referral rate, you can take a call whether you want to discontinue the deal, right? The fee that we charge for screening your stones would be about approximately 100 rupees per stone, and it's done immediately. You submit in the morning, by evening you have the results ready, right? So these are a couple of steps that you can take before you get into business. Now, this is also showing you how we use our diamond shore. This is a more sleeker machine. To check jewelry, so you can see out here a ring which is side stone, smaller diamonds, and a center stone that can be seen here, right? Have been testing using a probe. So we pull out the probe, and every stone is randomly, not every stone, but randomly we check the stones and determine if they're saying type 2 or type 2A. We will ask the submitter to unmount that stone for further tests. So even in jewelry, things are not easy anymore. It's not only about saying, is this VBS, does it pass, or is it FG or GH color? It's very important that we know that the stones which are mounted are natural diamonds first. So when you're dealing with labs, when you're getting your jewelry certified with labs, you need to be sure that the labs have the equipment and expertise to do these tests before they issue a report to you. Right. There'll be a few questions from your end. What we'll do is we'll take all these questions towards the end of the presentation, right? So that you can simply type out your your question, and I'll answer each one individually. Yeah. The new equipment that we have is also based on the FTIR. It's the Alpha, where we can test a lot of jewelry. So you can say the same ring is being checked here. So this gives you clearly a result that will tell you the exact type of the stone. Well, however, this equipment, that's a diamond show, will only tell you check for further tests or refer. But however, the FTIR clearly tells you it's type 2A, right? This particular stone is type 2A, so we then have to do further tests to know whether it's natural or synthetic, right? So this is the again the IR, but a little larger one where we can do loose stones as well as jewelry. However, the alpha that you see out here has made things more easier. It's more compatible to use and faster results. Then we come to the diamond view, right? This actually looks at the growth structure of the stone. So we can actually do loose stones as well as mounted jewelry. So you see out here, it's a stone which is set in a ring, and we placed it in the diamond view, and it will tell us the actual growth structure of the stone. Now, what's the difference between the growth structure? Well, this is very important and one of the tests that actually is very confirmatory for us. Now, on the screen you see diamonds. Now, to know whether these are natural or synthetic, let's look at the growth structure. Can you clearly see that these layers, do you see these layers? So yes, that's how a diamond, natural diamond actually grows, layer on layer on layer on layer. And that's what you really see in these images here, layered growth, also known like as epitaxial growth structure. Then you see synthetic diamonds. What was so different? You saw more layered growth, and you see more typical cubic growth, which is very geometric, and that's a clear difference between a natural and a man-made diamond, but seen under the diamond view equipment. This cannot really be seen under a microscope. Also, what you see is a cross pattern. Do you see this? Clearly a cross pattern being seen. That is what also helps us determine that this is a lab-grown stone. At the same time, there are images that show these graining lines inside, which are very typical of CVD. Even natural diamonds show graining, but this is it's known as like tatami graining, which is like a mat. Tatami means mat in Japanese, so like a mat, you have crisscross, you have, so that's also very typically seen in CVDs. Now this is a stone which we keep under the UV lamp, and you see fluorescence. However, there's another property which is not really seen in diamonds but is very typical of CVD, which is termed as phosphorescence. Now, what is phosphorescence? So phosphorescence is when you expose diamonds to the UV lamp. So if, for example, you put these, so you see these diamonds which are put in the UV lamp, you're trying to determine out of these which are natural and which are man-made or lab. So what happens is we put it under the UV lamp. After a few seconds, we are going to switch off the UV lamp. Now, if the diamonds still glow, you see here, two of these are still glowing. You clearly see them. So these are not diamonds. I mean, these are not natural diamonds. They are CVD. So CVD have this property termed as phosphorescence, also known as afterglow, that even after the UV lamp or the exposure is switched off, they still glow for a few seconds, which if you try the same with natural diamonds under the UV lamp and you switch off the lamp, immediately you do not see any glow. But in CVDs, there is an afterglow of phosphorescence, and that's also one of the way we distinguish or identify natural diamonds from CVD. So these two stones are lab grown. Right? Finally, once we've determined that the stone is lab grown, we issue a report on it, and it's very different from the regular IGI report that you see, which is blue. So this is a lab grown diamond report, which is yellow in color. So it stands out that it's a synthetic diamond report. And we also inscribe on the girdle mandatory lab grown, right? So laboratory grown. So if a stone is submitted to us without any disclosure or with disclosure, we issue a report, and we also inscribe on the girdle lab grown, right? Just showing you a few pieces of jewelry that came into our lab. Now, the question today is, should we deal in synthetics? Are synthetics good or bad? Are lab-grown diamonds going to affect the market? Let's understand things will coexist. There will be a market for synthetics or lab-grown. However, I don't know how much popular they are in India or how popular they'll get, because there's a different sentiment when people buy diamonds in India. But however, it's okay if you deal in diamonds which are synthetic or lab-grown diamonds, keeping in mind you disclose that you're selling a synthetic or a lab-grown diamond. Now, these are diamonds which came into our lab without disclosure, and we've issued reports on them. So you see there's a 22 pointer, the center stone, VVS GH color, but the stone is lab grown. So a lab grown report is issued on it, right? Again, you see a center stone along with side stones, 30 pointer SIIJ. Again, the center stone is lab grown, right? Now, this is one of the most interesting jewelry pieces that came into our lab. A single line bangle, which contained about 80 stones approximately. And when we checked it on our equipment, we started marking a few stones and then testing them on the diamond view equipment finally. And what finally we could conclude is, you see the stones which are marked here in black? Yeah, so you must be thinking these are actually lab-grown stones, right? Well, these are the only natural diamonds in the bangle. The rest are all CVD, right? So, wow, we were pretty surprised about this fact, and they came in a pair. So the stones which are marked are natural. The rest are all CVD. So, hello, you need to be really more careful in where you're sourcing your stones from a very legitimate source or a supplier who actually tells you that they're not really selling you lab grown in any way. However, when they're certified with IGI, we make sure we do all our tests before we issue our reports. This quickly shows you 3 different rough stones. That's a HPHC or a high pressure, high temperature rough diamond. That's a CVD rough. You see it's more flatter, tabular. You get more larger stones out of this. You get smaller stones out of a CVD. And that's a natural diamond rough that you can see. So that's just how the rough looks like. Very easy to determine. Now that this entire discussion about synthetics or CVD we've gone through, let's move on to more easier topics, but at the same time a little more complex at times. Starting with clarity grading, right? So yeah, it's based on the inclusions that you see in the stone. You determine the clarity grade, also based on parameters like what is the size of the inclusion, the location of the inclusion, the nature of the inclusion, whether it's breaking on the surface or at the same time it's restricted internally, it's not affecting the durability of the stone. The color of the inclusion in contrast to the color of the stone. Does it really stand out, or does it actually merge with the color of the stone? So there are certain parameters at the same time whether the inclusion can be seen with difficulty or easily, or to the naked eye we determine the clarity grade. All this is done at the 10x or the 10 power magnification. Please keep in mind that we do look at diamonds under the microscope, but the final grading is based on 10 power or 10x magnification. Right? So this is also how we check jewelry under the microscope, under the prongs, you know, from the various facets to see on the opposite side. Well, so it's not easy to actually grade jewelry because the stones are very small. Every stone has to be analyzed, so it takes longer to do this. But with IGI having the largest workforce across India, we have about 500 professionals working only to check loose in jewelry. They have the expertise now to see where the inclusion is, if the stone is chipped or broken somewhere, or probably it's not a diamond. All that can be done by the expert gemologists. Right? Now, when we look at an inclusion also, it's very important to us to see whether the inclusion is just based or just a regular feather, which is a fracture feather that you see here, or sometimes there are feathers which look a little hidden. So you can see the breaking edge that this feather is breaking on the surface. However, you can't see the real truth about it. When we look at the same stone from pavilion, we see a little pinkish or a purplish flash coming from the feather. Now that rings a bell in our mind, whether is this stone that we're looking at could be enhanced for clarity. That means using molten glass or material, they filled the feather. So you see they filled the feather here. So now you can see through it. You see, so when they're using glass, the refractive index of glass and diamond are very similar. So you cannot now see the feather, you see through the feather. But from the pavilion, if you see a single color flash coming from a crack or a feather, this stone could be enhanced. All right. So this is a particular stone which is enhanced. And look at this compared to this. Now you have another stone. Again, do you see a single flash of color? Actually, what's seen out here are spectral colors. So when you see spectral colors in the stone or coming out from a feather, that clearly shows that this is a natural inclusion and not an inclusion which is enhanced, right? So these are fracture fill stones that we were talking about. What you see out here are fracture fill. We do not issue reports on fracture fill stones. We just return the stone to the client saying it's fracture filled, because this is a temporary situation. Now, if the liquid comes out from that crack after some time, probably the crack would probably resume to the same original appearance how it was before. So because it's a temporary enhancement, we do not issue reports on fracture fill. But yes, this is also becoming very common. Every you can say about 15 to 20 days, we do find a stone set in jewelry, probably even in melee sizes which are fracture filled, but mostly in SII quality diamonds set in jewelry. Right? Internal laser drill, also termed as Kidua Mewad, or the KM treatment, where they use strong lasers to break open the inclusion, and again when they bleach the stone, what happens is the color from the inclusion is removed. So what's happening, they're creating a feather inside the stone so that it looks like a very natural inclusion, but they're trying to remove the color. So probably this was a complete black inclusion, dark included crystal in the stone. So a crack has been created due to the stress internal laser, which starts from surface, reaches the inclusion, and then they simply boil the stone so the color of the inclusion gets bleached. So this here they are not drilling a hole like a laser drill hole. That's very easy to determine. Uh, they're actually disguising the inclusion as a natural feather and making a path from the surface to the inclusion, right? In case we see this in the stone, we mention in comments internal laser drill present, right? So if you see this on our report, that means we have checked this stone and we have graded uh, and we put it in the comments. Now it's very important to see these kind of inclusions like fracture filled as well as laser drill, the right lighting and the illumination. So you see out here, this is an IGI scope that we use, which is very different from regular scopes, very high end. The lens is Carl Zeiss, Schneider. The equipment is made by Schneider. And you see the light comes from below, which is a LED light, and actually illuminates all the inclusions to us. And for us, it's more easy to determine whether there are any treatments on this stone. Moving quickly to color grading. Now to color grade a stone, it's always done from the pavilion view. We do not grade diamonds from the face-up appearance. Now in case of round brilliant cuts, when a round brilliant cut diamond is seen from face-up, it actually looks probably a color or maybe a little more better than what it is from the pavilion. And in the case of fancy shapes, the stone's color seen from face up looks darker than what it actually is from the pavilion. So we always color grade diamonds from the pavilion view and not from the face up view, and always reference master stones or reference stones are used as comparison, right? So you can see reference stones being used. Now it's very important that you know that the size of the reference stone does not need to be the same size as the stone in question, because we are not looking at the size of the inclusion. I'm sorry, not the size of the stone, but we're actually looking at the actual color of how much color is in the stone in question compared to the master stone. And here you can clearly see that the stone in question is darker than the master stone, which is kept on its side. A little distance is kept between them so that they do not reflect color into each other. And a clean color card, white color card, which is a dull color card, is used for this comparison. These are just images showing stones which now why is this image here? Because you see there are stones which have inclusions in them which are very heavy, like Si2, I1 stones. What happens in these cases is the color of the inclusion reflects in the pavilion when we are seeing. So what do we do in this case? We actually have to rotate the stone and bring it to a position so we bring it to a position where the effect of the inclusion is very less and we see more of the overall color of the stone, right? So you rotate the stone, bring it to a position where you see overall similar color, and that's where you will look in the belly of the stone and determine the color, not the culet, not the girdle, but the belly of the stone, right? This probably is like a K color stone compared to this, which is probably an I color stone. Now in fancy shapes, please remember that you never look at the stone from either the vertical position or the flat horizontal, but from the diagonal. You see how we've tilted the stone. So we've tilted it and we are going to look into the belly of the stone before we determine the color of the stone. If we look only from the horizontal view, right, so the horizontal view, the color looks more transparent in the center and there are colors on the side. If we look from vertical view, there's too much color that you see here. But if we tilt the stone and look in the belly, you see more or less even color throughout, right? So more like a JK color stone that you see here. So when you make your master stones or reference stones, make sure that if you're using, you're going up to sizes which are above 1.5 carat, but remember these should be natural diamonds that you use as reference stones, and you should send it to our laboratory uh, to ask whether this is a good reference stone that you can use for that color. For example, you have a stone which is certified H by IGI. Do not use that stone as a reference stone because every color has a range. It could be a higher H, a straight H, or a lower H. So probably if you want to know the stone in question, is it better, the stone in question is better to your H color stone? If it's slightly better does not mean it's a G. Why? Because if your stone which you have got as an H color is a low H, so the stone in question, even if it's slightly better, will still remain as H and not go to G. Alright? So like I say out here, it's important that you know the range of your master stone to ensure that it's more accurate and consistent grading. And we can help you do that. This is showing how we look at stones even in mounted conditions for color. Now what you see on image here is there's internal graining in the stone. There's brown color graining inside the stone, which can affect the color of the stone. So again, in the same way, we are going to look and bring it to a position where the effect of graining is not that much and even color is seen in the stone. And based on that, we determine what the color is. Now, if you look closely at the body color of the stone, it's more or less green, right? Yeah, it's more or less green in color. Sorry, what you see out here. So these are stones which in the trade they call as Zimbabwe stones, you know, green tinge. Now at IGI, it also becomes important to us to disclose if the color is green. So this is how it goes. If a stone comes into the lab and it does not have any yellow base in it, it's more or less just green color. In that case, if it's dark like K, L, and below, in that case we just write in the color field as faint green. We do not give an alphabet in that case. It's just mentioned as faint green. For example, the effect of green is very less and maybe it looks like an HI stone. We'll give the color grade as I, but in comments we will mention very light green or faint green in comments also. So this is mentioned to disclose that this stone has a tinge of another color that's green, right? It's not done in yellow and browns as much. In browns, when it's really low, dark browns, we write faint brown, right? But in yellow, it's not mentioned, right? So when you see something in the field of color saying faint green, you should know that the stone has a lot of green in it and no yellow base, hence we've mentioned that, right? But there are stones which have an equal proportion of yellow and green, all right? So there is more yellow to that, but there is a little tinge of green. So in this case, we do not mention anything. We will just mention the color of the stone, for example, K. That's it, right? But if the green is actually like the primary color in the stone, all right, in that case, faint green is mentioned either in the color field or in comments. Okay. This is also seen showing how we check even from the profile view the color of the stone, not only from the face-up view in the mounted condition. Always remember you can see color easily in the mounted condition, like you can see the yellow very easily here. The color should be J and below of the stone. Right. And that's a jewelry report that you see. In jewelry, we always mention a split grade, and we do not mention, for example, a single grade. So if it's mounted in jewelry, you'll get a grade like VVS or VSSI or VS, FGEF, GHI in some cases, right? So that's how the report would look. Finally, let's move on to a topic which actually determines the light return or the overall finish of the stone, right? So finish is divided into three parts here. You see the cut grade is the proportions based on the parameters of the stone. The table size, the crown angle, the total depth, the crown height percentage, the girdle thickness percentage, the pavilion depth percent, all right? So all these determine the overall cut grade of the stone. Now, when a cut grade is assigned, so we have a simple chart which can be available to you whenever you need it. We can email it across, and based on where the range of the proportions are, you get whether an excellent ideal cut or an excellent cut, a very good cut, good or fair. Now the term poor is no more used. It's obsolete now, so we do not use poor. It's not even the right term to use for diamonds, which are a luxury product, to say poor, you know, right? So fair is the lowest grade that we really give here. Also at the same time, for the stone to get an excellent cut, it's very important that the other two finishes, there are three finishes, the cut grade, the polish grade, and the symmetry grade. So to get the cut grade as excellent or ideal, you know, the polish and the symmetry should be minimum very good, right? If you have one good, automatically the cut grade drops from excellent to very good, right? So for a stone, I'll make it simple, for a stone to be entitled or to get the excellent cut grade, even the polish and symmetry should be minimum very good, right? If one of them is good, the cut grade, even though the parameters are excellent, will fall down to very good, right? Symmetry, that's very important. IGI pays a lot of attention to this. So when you get a stone which is triple excellent certified IGI, you know we've gone through a lot to see the stone, and it deserves a triple excellent grade because the cut grade is excellent, there are no polish defects and almost no polish defects and almost no symmetry. So when I say, you can say, you know, triple excellent means over 90% accuracy in the stone, right? Now what you see out here is these are features that we see and which will downgrade symmetry from excellent. You see how all the pavilion mains or the pavilion facets meet the crown facets. You see point to point. However, see in this case, the pavilion facet or the pavilion main should have met the point of the bezel facet. However, it's on the side. That means the pavilion facets and the crown facets are not aligned but misaligned, and that will bring down your grade from excellent to very good, and in cases which are easily seen and disturbing, to good and even fair, right? Also important, what we look at is, are the facets all in the same shape and size? For example, you look at the kite facet or the bezel facet, you see that they're not the same size, like big and small. These are known as irregular or misshapen facets, and that can bring your grade down from excellent to very good. Now, we do see a lot of stones which are certified by probably other labs when they come to IGI, and there is a chance that we would downgrade it from excellent to very good. Based on the most common that we see are irregular facets, and those are your star facets. We've noticed that the star facets are not the same size. They're like big and small, and this particular stone is now not a candidate for excellent and would come down to very good. Open facets. If you look in the image here, you see all the facets should end at a point, but they look like they've been left open very clearly. The same stone, if I look from the pavilion Now you can see it's not ending at a point, and that's the accuracy that we are looking at for the stone to be excellent. Now this particular stone, if it has many open facets, would come down to the good symmetry grade, and a few would go to very good, right? So we pay attention to a lot of these details. Extra facets. If the extra facets are seen only from the pavilion and cannot be seen from face up but are large, it could bring down the symmetry grade to very good from excellent. The same extra facet, if it is seen face up from the crown view, it could also bring down the symmetry grade to fair. Good. All right. Fair is rare, actually. Again, a symmetry defect that we see out here. If you look closely, if you look straight, what do you see? You see that the table is off. It's not in the center, but it's off. It's moving towards your right side, right? So it's off center. Also, if you look closely, even the axis is misaligned. You see this axis? The vertical and horizontal axis, it looks like it's tilted, curved. It's not straight. So misaligned axis is also a common problem which brings down the grade from excellent to very good, right? Again, something like facets not meeting at a point. Do you see that the facets are not meeting at a point? They should be meeting at a sharp point, but they're not meeting, and you see this little blunt edge here. You see how sharp the facets are meeting here at a point, meeting here at a point, but however here and here not at a point. So that brings down your grade again, symmetry grade. Finally, talking about polish grade, your polish grade is determined on blemishes like polish lines, burning marks on the stone due to, when you boil the stone at high temperatures, sometimes it can burn the surface, which can only be removed by minor repolishing. Or scratches like this. When you keep two diamonds together, all right, that's why larger stones are all kept separately. Right? When you keep diamonds together, one could scratch the other because diamonds can scratch diamonds. That's why you store them separately. And a scratch like this on the stone will bring the grade down if it's on the table and so large to good. Right? So what the polisher needs to do, or the manufacturer, he needs to just put it on the wheel and get rid of this with almost no weight loss, and the stone will be probably excellent again. Right? Polish lines, you see these lines which are restricted to the facet junctions, they're all inside. So if the stone is not smooth, not polished well, probably the diamond powder they use is rough, or the quality of the rough, it's very hard to polish, or the polisher has not put a lot of detailing to make sure that he, like you see, these are like mirrors. They're so shiny, the facets. However, this looks like it's dragged on the facet. So these are also known as drag lines or polish lines, and which can bring the polish grade down from excellent to very good to good, depending on how bad or how easy or difficult it is to see. This would definitely get a good because it's very prominent. Right. Now these are different from polish lines. You see these lines, they are not restricted to the facet junction. They cross the junctions. And this is something what we call as twinning. Now twinning is got to do with the growth structure of the stone, and all the polishers must be aware that if a diamond has twinning internally or externally, it's very difficult to remove on the wheel because these are like the veins of the stone. You cannot really remove them. You can actually make the effect look less but not remove them. So we are not harsh on twinning. When we grade a stone for twinning, if a stone has very heavy twinning, we would still give a stone a very good polish grade and not a good, right? Because this also is along with some polish lines. You see, the lines which are restricted to the facets are polish lines. Those cross facet junctions are twinning lines. So when we would give probably a very good to this stone and not a good. However, as the twinning is less, it can also go excellent, making sure there are no polish lines in the stone too, right? So the finish grade or the polish symmetry and the cut grade to get excellent is quite a task. The manufacturer goes through a lot to ensure that the weight of the stone uh, is kept, right? It's still above a carat, still triple excellent, right? So it's quite a task, and uh, Indians and the Indian manufacturers are the best at that we can say, right? So with that, I end my presentation. I thank you for listening, and if there's anyone who wants to ask a question, please feel free to ask now. All right. Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal, he has a question. If the diamond is sent to the lab for certification found to be man-made, can the sender ask for the return of without any inscription on the diamond? Not really. When you submit a stone and we find that it is man-made or lab-grown, we will make sure that we put the make the inscription or the engraving on the stone, and it cannot be just returned without the inscription because it's without disclosure. Again, Mr. Agarwal has a question: why is the green tinge of diamonds are identified and why the brown tinge is not identified? Mentioned on the certificate. Doesn't the brown tinge also affect the brilliant sparkle? Then why discrimination for Zimbabwe source diamonds? Very good question. It's not that we do not mention, like I had mentioned earlier, if the stones are K, L, and below, and they are brown in color, instead of an alphabet, we also mention just faint brown. So we also do that. However, there's a huge difference, or probably in the trade, uh, between the syndicate goods and stones which are sourced from probably mines where the value of the stone is lower. So it becomes very important for a lab to clearly mention if they see green in the stone. It's very prominent, and mention that it's got faint green or a tinge of green, right? So that is something that we do, but however, we also do the same for browns. Any other questions that we have? All right. Some amount of luminous actually improves the sparkle of a diamond, then why luminous stones are sold at a discount over non-luminous? This is very good. So, Mr. Agarwal, you have good questions. However, this is important to understand that everything really is based on how you market the stones or the communication that goes out. Now, it's true that stones which have very slight fluorescence, or even stones a few which have slight fluorescence, could probably show much more light return than the ones that show none. But they're discounted just based on the fact that it's been promoted or marketed in a way that stones with fluorescence are not good or bad, will affect the light return, which actually is not really true. And also in the cases of stones with strong fluorescence, it also makes the stone slightly look milky from face up, but even a little more brighter or lighter than how other stones of a similar color would look. So fluorescence is something which we need to be careful of how we communicate to the consumer, because you don't want to get stuck by saying very slight is bad, because fluorescence is just a natural property of a diamond. Hi Upkaran, Mr. Chavla. With the gaining popularity of CVD, man-made and treated diamonds, do you think a mobile lab for jewelry is advisable? Does your team carry all the requisite equipment? Yes. Now it's a very good question. Now, like I said, Mr. Chavla, that earlier, but I forgot to mention that when we send out our laboratory, like a mobile lab at the venue, we do our checks. Now, what are these checks? Firstly, stones which are 15 points and above are not checked on a mobile lab. We are not tested or graded. They have to come into our lab where we have more sophisticated equipment, and we'll be able to give the grade on that. At the same time, even for melee jewelry, uh, at least 20% of the jewelry on very regular basis when we are sending our labs is actually sealed. Like we just randomly pick out a few pieces of jewelry, seal it, and ask them to send the jewelry to the lab. So this is tested in the lab, and based on the results we give a report for all the other jewelry which is really tested. So it's not really possible and feasible to check every melee diamond, because, and also at the same time, we've not really encountered CVDs or man-made in melee. But 15 points and above, we take all precaution. It's not checked on mobile lab. Right? Mr. Signodia, I don't get to see diamonds regularly because I'm into gold. So how can I still be in the practice of seeing diamonds? You're not too late to get into this industry in the field. Already you're into jewelry. You need to get a good course, a good education, uh, a diamond course, or probably a graduate gemologist program. And then you have your manufacturers, traders who are selling diamonds on the RapNet. So you can actually see where the diamonds are, who has the diamonds based on the demand that you get from your customer, and you can actually source it from these people because the pricing is uh, all put down and it's all compared, so you know the right purchase that you can make. All right, and then because there is certification, you have to be rest assured thinking, okay, it's certified, I just now need to sell it. You don't need to do all your tests and be stressed whether you're really selling a natural or synthetic. Right? So it's about time you start selling diamonds now, and you can come to IGI for a course, yeah, with the best. Okay. What does the carbon content in a diamond has to deal with the quality of the diamond? A common question. Sachin, hi. So the carbon content in a diamonds are made up of almost 100% carbon, right? So like you say, carbon content, diamonds, all diamonds have carbon, but a few diamonds would have nitrogen present in the crystal lattice along with carbon that makes it yellow. Those who do not have nitrogen present but have some, during the growth, some deformity or uh, no presence of nitrogen, would be termed as type 2 diamonds, and they would be either colorless or brown, red, pink. These are the colors that you see of stones which do not have carbon. But even the carbon or the black crystal inside the diamond is actually carbon. So, but the superstitions are there that if there's black, it's bad for the stone. But the black is actually carbon in a diamond. So it's carbon in carbon, and anyways, a diamond is carbon. So really, it's not going to affect you health-wise. Diamond is a neutral stone, and it suits everybody. Wear diamonds, love diamonds, enjoy diamonds. All right. Mr. Signodia, also it's easy to grade pointers compared to melee. So how can we be accurate on it? For yourself, it's very simple also when it comes to melee, because in melee you do not have to really give a single grade. If you have a parcel and you're grading it, if there are very few inclusions in it, very difficult to see, you can actually put them on the side, and like you can categorize them as VVS, inclusions which are small and somewhat easy to see or difficult, you put them as VS. So you group them as split grades and not as single grades like VVS, VS, SI, EF, GH, IJ, likewise. Right. I hope I'm answering most of your questions. Mr. Agarwal again, if a consumer wants to test his diamond jewelry at IGI, can he do so? what would be the charges, and who can approach the IGI office for this. Yes, anybody can actually come to IGI and come up and bring their jewelry, and we will grade your jewelry at IGI. However, we recommend that the best is to ask your jeweler itself to give you a certified jewelry piece by IGI, rather than going through all the hassle of coming, submitting. You can just tell them that when you're buying it, I want a report on it, which will take us maximum 2 working days to issue a report on it. All right. So it's best to ask your jeweler for a report, but you can also come in. Consumer can come in and bring his jewelry in. Let me be clear. It's hard to grade loose-studded diamonds. Again, it's Mr. Signodia. Let me be clear. It's hard to grade loose-studded diamonds, as in its excellent cut. Also, the inclusions are hidden when studded in jewelry. Yes, it is difficult. Probably a microscope would help here. So you're in a lot of jewelry and large stones, or even like single line necklaces, and it's important you get yourself a microscope. Here you could also look for treatments, also look for hidden inclusions in jewelry. All right, so all this can be done with the help of a microscope. All right. So Mr. Mahendru, is there any way to check studded Polki diamonds like CVD? Check. Polki or uncut diamonds. Not really seen CVDs in uncuts. The reason being, I don't think it's feasible to make CVD for Polki or uncut diamonds. Firstly, rough is so flat. They're trying to get the best weight out of it because it's expensive to make CVD diamonds. The difference in price would just be about 25 to 30%. So they try to get the largest size out of it, and what is from the remaining, they would make probably smaller stones, or that also maybe not. So yes, like the question is, there's not really a simple way you can sit at your store and check whether this is, in your Polki, whether it's CVD or natural. You have to get certified in a lab. But don't, if you're into this kind of work or this kind of diamonds, you're still far away from it, because it's really not feasible to make monetary-wise stones which are CVD for Polkis, right? Mr. Verma again. So the ones those glow under the UV light are meant to be good in terms of carbon content and can be categorized as type 1? No. Okay. Fluorescence has got nothing really to do with the type of the stones. Type 1 or type 2 stones can show fluorescence. Alright. When I was talking of something for type 2A stones showing phosphorescence, that is seen in CVD stones under UV light. If you switch off the lamp, they still show a little afterglow. That is seen in type 2A stones, which are CVD. But like again, I repeat, type 1 diamonds or type 2 diamonds, they will and they can show fluorescence anywhere from none to slight. So all can show fluorescence, and mostly blue. Mr. D'Souza, I'm sorry, Mr. D'Souza. In hearts and arrows, certain stones is rejected because of internal impurity, even throughout when the proportion are perfect. So what can be done for that? Hearts and arrows, a very good question. Hearts and arrows is a visual effect that you see, right? Under a diffused equipment, you're looking at the stone and you're looking at perfect 8 arrows from the crown and perfect 8 hearts seen from the pavilion. Now it's because it's a visual effect, and if there are inclusions like in stones like Si2, I1, which actually hide or which will do not show the perfect symmetry or the image of the 8 pavilion means, or the 8 arrows or the 8 hearts, if they're breaking the image, yes, that particular stone will not qualify for a hearts and arrow stone. So, but if the inclusion is not breaking the edges of the image. It is just inside the arrow, but not breaking the outline of the arrow or the heart. Even in SI stones, we still give hearts and arrows as a report. We do in SI. But it has to be very clear that the inclusion should not block the image or the outline of the heart or the arrow. Ms. Mehra says traders sell VVS, VS diamonds. So what percentage of diamonds are VVS and what percentage is VS? Very good question. So in a VVS VS, you can be rest assured that it's 60% is VVS and about 40% is VS. That's the ratio that is there for a VVS VS report. Mr. Verma, just a curious question. I believe you're from Shimla, Mr. Verma. Yes, it's the same one, right? Sachin, hi. So what are the chances that the same stone is reported graded differently from two IGI graders? Possible. Possible. I will not deny this. It's possible. However, it's not frequent, or it's not going to happen frequently. Very rare. Now, what happens is, because it's a subjective issue, in the case of a borderline stone like GH, there could be stones which you've certified as H earlier and probably would come back at a later stage. Because it's a borderline stone, we could even grade it as a G this time, or vice versa. But again, it's very rare. Why? Because all our gemologists, or all the stones, go through at least 2 gemologists to 3 gemologists before we issue the grade. A single grader does not issue the grade. So two gemologists need to agree that the stone is G. Only then it goes on. If one says G, one says H, then it's a discrepancy, and the further grade has to be set, or the decision has to be made by a senior. But it's possible, but rare. That's why we are there, to get consistency. Mr. Irani, there's a grading of a final product in the gems. My question is there a standard or certification for measuring how good the process is followed compared to other competitors? I'm not referring to ISO, I'm referring to CMI or Markham Baldrige model. Wow, that's something that I need to look into. Now that you mentioned it, I'm going to do my research on this and get back to you, because I have your email ID. However, IGI is not just an ISO certified laboratory. So it's not ISO 9001, 2008 certified, but we are also certified by the National Accreditation Board for Laboratories, that's NABL. So IGI is primarily the only lab in India, probably along with another lab in Surat maybe, that is certified for 17025. That's accreditation and calibration for laboratories. So to get that, we have to make sure we are very consistent in our grades. Our rechecks are minimum. The changes that we make in our grades are again minimum. All our equipment is calibrated, all that. So to get the ISO 17025 by NABL is very difficult, and to maintain it every year is difficult, but we're doing it for the last over 5 years, and we're very proud of this. Truptisha, hi, I have a question to ask. May I? Yes, you can. Do you certify color precious stones like emeralds and pearls also? Yes or no? Pearls we do not grade, we do not certify pearls, but yes, all other precious and fine gemstones we certify. Alright, so we will send you a link, Sachin, of the recording. Thank you so much. Thank you for being there. And you can also email me further questions at ramit@igiworldwide.com, and I'll be happy to answer most of them. But thank you so much for everyone joining in. Have a great day and a happy diamond selling and buying.